Chapman's notes. Still looking at success principle number 1 from Canfield, Success Principles. Now we're going to just talk about some tips that you can use to apply this information. So tip number 1, we talked about blaming and complaining, how that would be a symptom of not being 100% responsible for your life. So how would you know that that's happening? Well, you want to pay attention to your language. A good way to do that is check your text messages. Your good friend, your good buddy that you text often about whatever circumstances happen in your life, take a look at your text message for the past week and see what kind of language it's been. Take a look at your Facebook posts, take a look at your Twitter posts, any of your social media posts, and see what kind of language you've been using historically. If you journal, pay attention to how you're journaling. What does your journal language look like? If you had some type of situation with a boss or somebody at work and there was an email exchange, pay attention to the email exchange. What kind of language were you using? If you notice in your language that you are blaming and complaining, then this is an indicator that you haven't been taking 100% responsibility for your life. How can you change that? Well, you can change that by reconstructing the story. And you can reconstruct it by looking at a couple of things. At this point, you might have been spending a lot of your time looking at the other person and all the other circumstances, but you're going to take more time looking at you now. You're going to ask yourself, what did I do that influenced that situation and helped create that situation? What did I do in terms of my behaviors? What was I thinking? What kind of language was I using? Those will be some practical questions you can ask yourself, and then once you can identify what behaviors you were doing, what you were thinking, and what kind of language you were using, you can change those things. And you experiment with it. You change those things and see if that leads to new results. And if it doesn't, you keep experimenting until you get new results. And if they don't get new results, then the other thing you can decide to change is how you feel about the particular thing. So you're angry about it for whatever reason. Is it useful for you to stay that angry? And is it necessary? You can reconstruct how you feel about the particular thing or what your thoughts are about it if you're not going to actually change your behaviors, or you can't change some of the circumstances around it. You can change the way that you think about it. That's one thing that you have control over also. So as you go forward, the primary tips you're going to use in order to be 100% responsible for your life is every time something happens, you're going to look at the results. It's important that when you look at the results, you separate the results from yourself. Now, I'm not telling you, yes, I want you to look at the results, but I'm not telling you to come down with a hammer judging yourself, because that's not going to help you get anywhere, particularly if you happen to be a little bit more judgmental towards others, and you probably are the same way for yourself. What I'm asking you to do is judge your results. So let's just say that you wanted to get a certain amount of sales, and you didn't get that number of sales. You wanted to get 10 sales and you only got 1 sale. Instead of beating yourself up about it, because that's not going to be helpful, you have to ask yourself, what were the behaviors that I did? How many sales calls did I have? How many people did I approach? If I did approach a person, what were the things that went wrong in that transaction? How can I change my language? How can I change what I'm thinking? How can I change what I'm doing? Those will be the 3 primary tips that you can use in any circumstance to help you maintain responsibility and take the role of creator. How did I influence this? What can I do to change my role in it? Now, sometimes it's not what you're doing, it's what you're allowing. And you can stop things from happening or no longer allow things to happen without being rude. Sometimes people just allow things to happen, and that's why they end up complaining and blaming, is because they wish that this thing wasn't happening to them. And if they would have just voiced how they felt about it, those things probably would stop happening. So those would be the 4 tips that I think would be most helpful to you as you go ahead and use this principle of being 100% responsible for your life. Go ahead and subscribe down below to the page. Also, I have a link if you're interested in knowing more about choice theory and owning your decisions. There's a Udemy course that I have a coupon for down below.